The talking points in defense of Donald Trump amid his third indictment as he awaits a possible fourth are getting more and more ridiculous, more and more absurd, in this case, laughable. Laura Ingraham on Fox News, while talking with Sean Duffy, said that Trump, again, amid all of his legal troubles, represents a, quote, regular citizen who seems like they can't get a break. As Mediaite reports on the clip that we're about to watch, saying Fox News host Laura Ingraham declared that Donald Trump, a billionaire and former president who is under indictment in 3 jurisdictions, represents a, quote, regular citizen. Really? Let's see what they have to say.
The DOJ, the FBI coming after a former president that they do not like, and so they haven't moved away from Donald Trump. What it's actually done, Laura, is made some of those voters who really didn't like the tone and tenor of President Trump, they liked the policies, but they wanted to find someone else other than the president. They've angered them. And now to stick it to...
You've angered them. Fox News has angered them. Lies about Trump being this big victim, that's what's angering people. If networks like Fox News were more honest, then more people would understand this is an example not of Trump being a big victim who's being targeted, but instead of someone who possibly committed crimes being held accountable for that.
To the Department of Justice, to stick it to the deep state, they've come back on board for Trump to go, you know what, we're going to show these jerks that Donald Trump can win and he's going to root out the corruption. And so they're making him stronger, not weaker, by these indictments because there's a lot of nothing there.
Well, I think he kind of represents to people at this point, after all these years of their coming after him, he kind of represents the regular citizen who seems like they can't get a break from the federal government. The government's always on your back. It's always taking your money. It's always regulating you. It's always hassling you. And that's kind of what they're doing to Trump, obviously in a much worse way. But do you see that, Sean?
We'll let Sean Duffy respond after responding to that. So... yeah, nothing says regular citizen like being a billionaire who got handed $400+ million from their father, or being the guy who, as president, attempted to overthrow a democratic, free, and fair election and keep themselves in the White House despite losing that election and pressuring election officials and trying to disenfranchise voters and possibly committing the crime while doing so. Nothing says a regular citizen like someone who kept classified documents after being president and then after multiple demands from federal authorities held on to them and possibly conspired with staffers to keep them out of the hands of federal authorities and then allegedly destroyed evidence to cover that up. Regular citizen.
Well, so it's a line that he uses on the campaign trail often. He's like, they're not coming for me. They're actually coming for you, and they're coming for me first. And so I think a lot of Americans see that. They're going after Donald Trump, but they see the same thing happening in their communities and in their country, whether you're going after parents who are protesting at a school board, you're a Latin Mass Catholic, you're a pro-life activist. They're seeing the Department of Justice classify them as domestic terrorists, and they're coming after them. And again, whether you're coming after my car or my gas.
Okay, and then that's deriving itself from a really dishonest talking point. He brought up the school board meeting point, saying parents were just voicing their concerns and then were labeled domestic terrorists by the Department of Justice. That didn't happen. What happened was during the time where a lot of parents were voicing their concerns, which you can do, going to school board meetings, being mad, absolutely. Also, alongside that, some people were getting so angry that they were threatening public officials, threatening school board members, and that is what was labeled as a potential domestic terrorist threat. Yes, if you make violent threats that could be followed through on, you might be labeled as that by the Department of Justice, which is what we should want them to do. Make sure public officials are safe and people aren't having their lives threatened. But continuing.
Gas stove, my hot water heater. I think Americans see the country going in a direction that they don't approve of. By the way, also, you're going after my kids. You want to have a real fight with me? Come after my kids and their education. Right. Try to sexualize my child. Try to get kids to...
Huh? Who's doing that?
Transition without me knowing, and you're really going to make people angry. And so again, I think it all feeds into why they love Donald Trump, and I think they see that he's going to actually fight that machine. And by the way, he's the only one, Laura, who stood up to the machine. I'm going to tell you what, I would have been cowering in the corner under Russia collusion. I would be cowering in the corner with all these charges. He's looking at over 100 years in prison, and the man continues to stand strong. He appears to be upbeat and...
Then the idea that because Trump is being accused of all of these different crimes and thus having to interact with the Department of Justice and with the federal government in that particular way, he's best suited to fight back against the deep state or something makes absolutely no sense, because the mission will be, and he's made this very clear, retribution. It's going to be a victimhood presidency of him trying to get back at all the people he feels victimized by, even though, again, it's him being held accountable. That's it. That's what we're seeing. And if there were less lies being paraded on networks like Fox News, more people would understand that, and we would have a less hot temperature right now in the country when it comes to this subject. And interestingly, I wish people recognize this, but Trump sees this whole presidential run as his only shot of getting out of accountability. And so all the people supporting him are really just assisting in and a part of Trump's run away from accountability and his attempt to block that from and prevent that from happening. And so all those donations, $40 million spent this year from his campaign on his legal fees, it's all in service of that, instead of in service of what we should want candidates to be focused on, which is putting forward a policy agenda that is aimed at benefiting the lives of the people they want to be their constituents. But that's not what Trump's run is about. It's about him. And so all the conversations, as we see when we go through these interviews and these speeches, are about him and him being this big victim, instead of about how he will, if he became president, benefit the lives of Americans, which we know won't happen. And I wish more people saw that. Make sure you are subscribed to me on YouTube at Luke Beasley.
Plastic, it's everywhere we look, and not enough is being done about it. 100 billion plastic bags are used and thrown away every year. Here's something super simple you can do to reduce plastic and help the planet a little bit. Our sponsor, Hold On Bags, is the company making plastic-free trash bags and zip seal kitchen bags. They're just as strong and high quality as the plastic bags you're used to. Hold On bags are 100% plant-based and home compostable, meaning they break down in just weeks, not decades. Their zip seal kitchen bags come in sandwich or gallon size to fit all of your needs, whether it's carrots or crayons. At home, I put all of my food waste in a Hold On trash bag, throw it in the compost pile, and when I throw a Hold On trash bag in my dumpster, I love knowing it's not filling our landfills and oceans with plastic. Single-use plastics harm the planet at every stage: production, disposal, decomposition. Join the growing movement away from single-use plastic. These products are really great. It's so easy to make the switch. Go to holdonbags.com/Pacman and you'll get 20% off with code Pacman at checkout. The link is down below.